Yes. Right, at this time, I'd like to call the regular monthly meeting of the Salem Board of Education to order at 6 p.m. Would people please stand to pledge the flag? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Dina, are there any amendments to the agenda? We do have two addendums that were added. Actually. Thank you. At this time, I'd like to turn it over to the superintendent for the superintendent's report.
So good evening, everyone. First, I would like to acknowledge that it is School Board Recognition Week. The New York State School Boards Association recognizes this week as School Board Recognition Week. This is a time to promote awareness and understanding of the important work performed by local school boards. Public schools form the bedrock of our communities and our country. Democracy thrives with educated citizens capable of critical thinking and civil discourse. And it is our local school boards who are ultimately responsible for student success. It takes strong schools to build a strong community, and these men and women devote countless hours to make sure our schools are helping every child learn at a higher level. So just on behalf of myself and our school community, would just like to thank you for your service and your dedication. We know you put in a lot of hours, so thank you very much. And we have some parting mums for you.
Thank you.
So also just wanted to comment that we had a very exciting week last week on campus. It was Spirit Week. It was great. The elementary and high school together had a Spirit Week where they dressed up, had different theme days. At the end of the week, on Thursday, Mr. Moore worked with some of the teachers and students to bring back the pep rally. It's been several years since we've had the pep rally, and I heard it was a great success. A lot of the students loved it. I was chatting with them afterwards at the game on Saturday and had rave reviews. So I'm hoping that it'll be a tradition that we'll keep. And we also invited the sixth grade, so it was really fun that the sixth graders got to join in on that. Just giving them a little taste of what's to come when they enter junior high school. So I thought it was great. We had, of course, our football game here at Salem on Saturday. It was a beautiful day. We had a win, and then we had homecoming dance. So it just really, I think, was a great week for our students. I know there were some pictures shared throughout the week. We had a twin day, and it was really fun to see Mr. Moore and Mr. Switzer dress up as twins. So it was fun. Also, just wanted to comment. So last month we had our presentation by Mr. DeSoto, the CT Technology Pathway. And I did receive an email today just with a couple of quick contact questions, but it's been reviewed by the New York State CTE Technical Assistance Center. They go through the application, make sure everything is in order, and then they make the recommendation to New York State Education Department for final approval, and it is on its way for final approval. So again, I just want to acknowledge the hard work of Mr. DeSoto and all of those who mentored him on the process, as well as the community members and students who participated in the external review of the pathway. It is just a huge amount of work, and Mrs. Maxwell has done a lot of that work for probably about 7 years now. So she just did her renewal and added some pathways in. And I know she also, special thanks to her because I know she did a lot of mentoring to Mr. DeSoto. So very exciting that we'll have another graduation pathway to offer our students. And thank you to the board for approving the curriculum. Also excited to report, we thought we could have it in motion for today, but with Columbus Day, the pep rally, there were a lot of things going on last week. I've been traveling a bit to conferences. We didn't quite make the deadline for today's meeting, but we do have a student board member finalist. We are just kind of wrapping up that process. And we have one designated, and we're really excited to have that student join us at our next meeting. So we'll do some highlights on the student. And I will keep you posted, and we will have our student board member at the next meeting. I think, hopefully, but next year, Mr. Moore was onboarding, so a lot of things happening in the beginning of the year. It was hard to get the process, but I would like to ideally really start the process, maybe the second week into school, so that we could get our student board member going. Might be hard for September, but in October, for sure. So we'll work on that, now that this will be our third, correct? Yep, our third board member, so, hopefully we'll be aboard. Fourth, oh, yes. Yes, we had Cole, Lexus, David, and now so this will be our fourth. Thank you. And finally, just a special thanks to our faculty, staff, administrators, and parent member who interviewed for the director of PPS for those interviews. We held interviews, we kind of did it very efficiently. Usually we'll bring people in, call them back for another visit. We coordinated and exchanged between the groups, had our debrief all in one day. They really were amazing. It was a long day of interviews and then spending time with me to debrief on our finalists. And so we are excited to have someone tonight to meet with the board in executive session after this meeting, and we hope to have her appointed as soon as possible because Dr. King sadly will be leaving us, not forever, but she'll be leaving in her official capacity at the end of October, which is just 2 weeks away. And so we'll have a little bit of a gap, but just trying to move as quickly as possible. Dr. King has agreed to stay on as a consultant, so we would have that for board action as well. And just again, a special thanks to Dr. King, who came to us.
Thank you.
In August and helped us out for a few months until we could get our process going again. So that's all I have. Thank you very much. Unless anybody has questions.
Questions for the superintendent?
Thank you.
Okay. Right, at this point, it's time for our opportunity for the public to be heard. And we're about to convene into the public comment period for the meeting. Although state law does not require us to hold a public comment period, we have chosen to do so because we believe it is very important for us to hear comments, concerns, and questions from our community. As outlined in our policy, the public comment period is not designed to be a discussion. Please do not expect the board to respond to your comments or questions tonight. We will, however, respond to your questions at a future meeting if necessary, or have the proper staff member get back to you at the appropriate time. Anyone making a comment to the board will please come to the podium, state their name and where they're from. All speakers should address their comments to the presiding officer only. Any group or organization wishing to address the board may come up to the podium, but they must identify a single spokesperson for their comments. Each individual speaker will be allotted 3 minutes. The individual time limits will be enforced so that as many members of the public who wish to speak may be allowed to do so. Speakers may comment on any agenda items or any matter related to their district business. The board will not permit in public session any discussion involving individual district personnel or students. Anyone wishing to discuss matters involving or directly related to individual district personnel or students should present their comments and or concerns to the superintendent during regular business hours. Anyone wishing to discuss matters involving or directly related to or specific to any board member should contact the district clerk to schedule a meeting to discuss your concerns with the board. We do want to hear your concerns, but we would like to have a conversation about them. As per our policy, the presiding officer will remind speakers whose presentations are inconsistent with the rules for public comment. We want our school board meetings to serve as an example to our students that members of our school board and members of our community can deal with controversial issues in a civil manner and demonstrate mutual respect for one another. In that spirit, we will insist that all speakers and members of the audience maintain civility and respect for any divergent ideas that others may possess. Thank you for your cooperation. At this time, I'd like to open up the floor to anybody who would like to address the board.
I'll go first. Hi, I'm Rachel Armstrong. I live in Salem. I've been in touch, I think, with all the board members since the beginning of the year about my disappointment in the cuts to music education. I was unable to attend last time's meeting or view it because it wasn't recorded. So I know a lot of people spoke out about it then. I'd just like to add my own 2 cents here that the students who need and desire more music education are the ones who are engaged in band and chorus, and cutting general music, which is a different curriculum for those students, I think is a disservice to them. Finding 30 minutes in the course of 6 days, which is the rotation for the elementary, I think is a doable task to get those kids the music education they deserve. Having chorus after school, I think is also a detriment to them, at least to students who can't attend or participate because they can't stay after for various reasons. Either they have to be home at a certain time for childcare reasons, or conflicts like what happened on Tuesday with students who had to choose between chorus or Lego club, which I know my daughter chose chorus, but not everybody did. So, you know, some students are missing out on that because they have to make that choice. There's a limited number of extracurricular activities for students to engage in. And it seems unfair to have 5th and 6th graders have to choose between something fun like Lego and something fun like chorus. Again, finding another 30 minutes over the course of 6 days seems like a really doable task to get the kids the music education they deserve. A few other things I'd like to mention. I'm very excited that you will be recording future meetings. Like I said, I was unable to come last week, and I do wish it was recorded so I could have viewed it. I am curious where the $3,000 stipend number comes from. Setting up some tech and posting a video is not hours and hours of difficult work for a person who is already attending the meeting. If there are 30 meetings per year, that's $100 per meeting, which seems like a lot of money. So I hope the board takes that into consideration when discussing that agenda item. I'm also curious why we need to hire so many consultants when we have multiple administrators who are here full-time making more money than any teacher in the school. So I'm concerned about spending that extra money on additional people outside of the district who maybe don't know our school that well, instead of using the people who we already have hired and who already work here. Thank you.
Don't step on that. All right, so a couple things. I am wearing multiple hats. So Amy Maxwell, my first one is representing WADA. Thank you to the Board of Education, each and every one of you for your time and effort. It's a thankless job, but we need educated participants, and you guys fit that bill, and you're doing a wonderful job. So I have elicited my friend Alyssa Phillips to be my assistant. She is getting community service credit for government by helping me, so thank you. So I will hand those out at the end. And also now I'm gonna wear my teacher hat. Just an FYI, I know Ms. Adams just spoke about it, but the energy and the vibe in the high school has been really good this year. I'll give some of the credit to Mr. Moore for being the principal and just stepping into that role and really doing a great job. The pep rally, the energy after that was very similar to the energy after the day of service, when we all just come together. We just had fun. Kids were being loud and crazy, and it was fun. It was super fun. The energy was amazing. And I just wanted to speak to something. I don't know what hat this is. We'll say it's my parent taxpayer hat. I know there's been some pushback or some issues with the social media presence of the school. And that is super hard, trying to maintain a Facebook page and a social media presence. One, I'd like to remind the public that that position wasn't filled from last year from the budget issues. And that is a huge role for someone to take on. It can be worked out, and I'm sure we can find a solution, but just have grace with us as we're figuring it out, I guess, as a community member, as the board members. It was something that it's important, and I know you feel it's important, but figuring out how to make that work in this current situation. Good luck. So, while we figure that out, Alyssa's going to give you treats, and I'm going to give you a card. So the next person can come up and fill the awkward void.
Thank you.
That was ready.
Well, I know. I know. I didn't either, so.
Thank you.
We won't let OSHA know that this is happening.
You dropped one, yeah, something.
Oh, here.
Yeah.
McGregor.
There should
Look
have
from afar. I'll give her
Right there.
treats tomorrow.
been share something.
I'll give her.
Good job, Elizabeth. Thank you. Yep, careful. Okay.
Show me your.
Are there any additional comments at this time? Then I'm going to close the public comment session. And we'll continue with our meeting. There will be an additional session at the end of our work here. Does anybody wish to remove an item from the consent agenda? Entertain a motion to accept the consent agenda as presented.
So move.
Second.
Second by John. All those in favor, please signify by raising your hands. Motion carried 5-0. Moving on to committees, finance committee, have a
Haven't met yet. Meeting 28, I think.
28.
Should be on our page. Yeah.
and policy looks like it's been busy.
We had a very
Yes.
productive meeting, I believe. There are several policies tonight for both first and second reads. And we are in the process of mulling through a number of others to bring for the next meeting. We have another meeting scheduled for later this month and again for next month. So we'll keep you busy.
All right, thank you. So I'm sure we'll have some conversation as those policies.
Yes.
will-
Yeah.
Will come up. I don't know if there was a safety meeting.
So our safety meeting is actually next week. Our first safety meeting is in October. So we will fill you in at our next meeting.
And negotiations,
Negotiations are moving in a positive direction and we're finalizing some paperwork to present to our mutual constituents, so the board and to the union. So we are making some progress and we're happy to report. And so hopefully we'll have some more news next month.
and we do have a meeting scheduled on November 7th for the ad hoc athletics committee meeting. That meeting will be at 5:30 and it should be noticed as we get closer. All right, moving on to personnel. Entertain a motion to approve the appointment of Tricia Luke as a substitute teacher aide effective October 17th, 2024.
So moved.
Motion by John,
Second,
second by Peter. All those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. Motion carried 5-0. Entertain a motion to approve the appointment of Brian McLeod as a substitute teacher aide effective October 9th, 2024.
so moved.
Motion by Peter,
Second.
second by Jen. All those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. Motion carried 5-0. Entertain a motion to accept the resignation of Darlene King, interim director of Pupil Personnel Services, effective November 1st, 2024.
So moved.
Motion by John,
Second,
second by
with
Peter.
regrets.
With regret.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. All those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. Motion carried 5-0. Entertain a motion to approve the long-term substitute appointment for special education for Jane Laurie, effective September 1st, 2024, to or about October 3rd, 2024.
So moved.
Motion by John,
Second.
second by Peter. All those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. Motion so moved, 5-0.
And I would like to, just apologize, to Mrs. Laurie and to the board. There was an oversight. There was a lot going on that week before school started, and we thought this was on there, so, just want to apologize to Mrs. Laurie for that.
Entertain a motion to approve the agreement between Salem Central School District and Lorraine D. Thompson to provide consultation services for the 24-25 school year at a fee not to exceed $6,500. The consultant services will be in the area of special education, section 504, Medicaid claiming and reimbursement.
So move.
Motion by Peter,
Second.
second by Tom. All those in favor, please
Can I
signify.
just add something, and I don't know if there, before the vote. So I know there was some mention, sometimes we get questions about why do we need consultants and so many of them? Although we're a small district and we only have one administrator for each building, we don't have an assistant principal. We have one, actually, for a while, did not have an administrator in special ed, and that became, so we're still catching up from that. But a lot of districts, have a director of CSE or PBS, they have a chairperson, they have a director of curriculum instruction, they may have, someone, an HR and or personnel coordinator. Our, business office of our size should have probably 3 or 4, but we're fortunate that Mrs. McGregor and Mrs. Beatty have been working together for many, many years, and they are very efficient and they have good systems. And we have Mrs. Neal, who is our tax collector, and then will help if there's a little bit of overflow. But we are pretty lean and mean and going all day. And there are times where we need additional help, but it doesn't make sense to hire a full-time person and spend the money on benefits and commit to somebody long-term. And so consultants work for us. And so in this case, we have a new secretary in CSC. We are going to have a new director of PPS. And so we need some additional support, some with Dr. King, but Ms. Thompson, she helps us a lot with some of the financial pieces, how to use the software, the frontline, IEP Direct, how do we use the software to collect data, to make sure that we're accounting for all of our claims, because although it's expensive in terms of supporting with staffing and supports for special education in general, we also receive a lot of aid back for that, and there's a lot of accounting that is involved. And so this is to help get our new people up and running efficiently with the best systems, and over time, we think that's a high number. Should be somewhat less. It's just on an as-needed basis, a few of the key times of the year. And then what will happen is over time, we won't need that person. So that as opposed to hiring an extra person to come in and really do a lot of this work, this is how consultants do benefit us, similar to Mrs. Stoya, who is just helping us in the short term with our literacy and our literacy campaign and how we're working on that. We don't need a full-time director of curriculum long-term. We don't need one every day. 2 days a week is what we need, and is what is working for us. So just wanted to explain a little bit more why this is necessary, even though we will have an action item later to keep Dr. King on as a consultant. That would be in a different capacity. Okay.
If I can add from my personal experience, both having been very personally involved with the CSE office here and having helped write IEPs in the past, if you put a backslash where it's supposed to be a slash, you don't get the funding. It gets kicked back. New York State, their computer's reading. If they don't like what they're reading, they just say, sorry, you don't get this. To put that on 3 people's shoulders is a mighty task to ask. I don't see how we could do this without the consultants coming in saying, with the expertise of knowing what is supposed to be in each block. And that's, so I don't see how this is, again, how we could do without at the CSE position, on office, how we could do without a consultant.
So this is short term, and so we're fortunate that we have some connections that can help us that, well, hopefully, and in the past, we've ended up, when we use some of this, getting more money, because sometimes we miss things, so I apologize to interrupt that, but I just want to make sure that everybody was clear on what that was for.
Thank you for the clarification.
When a consultant comes on board, is it clear who oversees them? In terms of, and it's not always you, it's a different.
Sometimes it's me, sometimes, so for example, the reading, so, Mrs. Stoya, primarily the elementary principal, she's doing primarily work with the elementary as she kind of starts working with, junior high school, then Mr. Moore would be involved, so yes, consultants work directly with the administrator that, in the department where they're doing work. And a lot of times I'll have an initial meeting to kind of lay out the expectations of what I'm looking for. And or if there are specific outcomes that, we desire or need to have as a part of it.
Where does the funding come in terms of our budget for this year?
So this will come out of our special education budget. And we do have some flexibility in there. You know, it is a little, we did not plan for all of this. But, some of our, as I talked to you before, some of our money, we've been able to shift around because we had some additional ARP funds, which are now exhausted, but we were able to shift a fair amount more of money
And we
than
get some
thought.
back.
So we have some additional money in the general fund, so at some point down the road, there may be some transfers around a little bit, but, you know, we always sit down with Karen, you know, administratively and sit down and say, okay, are we gonna be able to fit this in? You know, where there's always a fair amount of planning for some consultation in special education. But we always kind of talk about that, or where, we may not necessarily need to spend everything that we thought we needed to in a different department, and then Karen will transfer the funds.
Any additional questions or concerns?
Just sounds like a place we need to address.
Non-compliance can also be costly, so if we make mistakes that, create non-compliance with state regulation, that will also
Sounds like
be
a headache.
costly in litigation and other ways.
Thank you.
So we do have a motion on the floor. All those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. Motion carried 5-0. Excuse me, entertain a motion to approve the agreement between Salem Central School District and Mary Sheldon Price for speech services effective November 19, 2024, and end on or about December 20th, 2024.
So move. Oh, sorry.
Motion by Ed,
Sorry,
motion
sorry.
made by John,
Second.
second by Peter.
Do you currently have a speech person? Or
This is, we have one of our speech therapists is, needs to take a short leave. It's just a long-term
just
substitute.
having the
That was my question too.
I wonder if they're in the attachment.
No, this is just a copy of the contract and, the person's qualifications resume.
Yeah.
If you were interested in that.
All those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. Motion carried 5-0. Entertain a motion to approve the appointment of Rebecca Quinn as teacher mentor for Julie Felipe DeMarco effective October 17, 2024, and to continue for one full calendar year.
Second.
Second by John. All those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. Motion carried 5-0. Entertain a motion to approve the appointment of Frank Fraunhofer as the varsity boys wrestling coach for the 24-25 school year. Is an appointment at capacity of employees at will.
So moved.
Motion by Peter. John. All those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. Carried 5-0. Entertain a motion to approve the appointment of Rory Day as the co-coach for both modified boys wrestling and JV boys wrestling for the 24-25 school year, Again, this appointment is in the capacity of employees at will.
So moved.
Motion by John,
Second.
second by Peter. All those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. Motion carried 5-0. Entertain a motion to approve the appointment of Riley Burr as the co-coach for both modified boys wrestling and JV boys wrestling for the 24-25 school year. This appointment is in the capacity of employees at will.
So moved.
Motion by John,
Second.
second by Peter. All those in favor? Thank you. Motion carried 5-0. Entertain a motion to approve the appointment of Chris Frondhofer as the varsity girls wrestling coach for the 24-25 school year. This appointment is in the capacity of employees at will.
So moved.
Motion by Peter,
Second.
second by John. All those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. Motion carried 5-0. Entertain a motion to approve the appointment of Tori Carey as the modified girls wrestling and JV girls wrestling coach for the 24-25 school year. This appointment is in the capacity of employees at will.
So moved.
Motion by John,
Second.
second by Pete. All those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. Motion carried 5-0. Entertain a motion to approve the appointment of Lisa Oswald as a volunteer girls wrestling coach, all levels for the 24-25 school year.
So moved.
Motion by Peter,
Second.
second by John. All those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. Motion carried 5-0. Entertain a motion to approve the appointment of Miriam Nestle as the varsity girls basketball coach for the 24-25 school year. This appointment is in the capacity of employees at will.
So moved.
Motion by John,
Second.
second by Peter. All those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. Motion carried 5-0. Entertain a motion to approve the appointment of Emily Smith as the modified girls basketball coach for the 24-25 school year. And again, this appointment is in the capacity of employees at will.
So moved.
Motion by Peter,
Second.
second by Jen. All those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. Motion carries 5-0. Entertain a motion to approve the appointment of Kayla McAuliffe as the volunteers girls wrestling coach, all levels, for the 24-25 school year.
So moved.
Motion by Peter,
Second.
second by John.
It's nice to see all these female wrestling coaches.
There's a lot of female coaches over.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm. All those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. Motion carried 5-0. At this time, I'd like to address the first addendum and add this to the end of the personnel items.
So I think we have an error.
I was gonna say, is it
Basketball. Okay, so can we make a correct, go back
I
and
didn't
make
think
a
she was
correction?
I didn't either, I was like.
Okay, so,
So can we go back on that?
yes, we can.
Okay.
Motion to amend previous motion that the Board of Education approve the appointment of Kayla McCullough as a volunteer girls basketball coach. Is that as it should be? All levels for the 24-25 school year.
So moved.
Motion by Peter,
Second.
second by John. Sorry about that, but good catch on somebody's part.
Just shut it up, Jamie, just shut it up. I'm like, what is she trying to tell me?
Could be busy trying to close both games.
All those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. Thank you. Julie, you got that one?
Yeah.
So now, when we will address the first addendum. Entertain a motion that the Board of Education amend the duties of the district clerk to include the video recording and posting to the website of the recording of Board of Education meetings. If feasible, the following Board of Education meetings will be recorded. All regular meetings, special meetings with planned discussion and or action items, and budget workshops only. If technical difficulties arise that cannot be resolved within 5 minutes of the start of the meeting will not be video recorded. The statement of such will be posted to the website following the meeting. Meeting videos will be posted within 3 business days absent any extenuating circumstances. To compensate for these additional duties, the district clerk annual stipend will be increased by $3,000 effective for the 24-25 school year.
So moved.
Motion by Peter,
Seconded.
second by Tom.
Do you want to describe the details in more detail?
So I just, so after the last, meeting, I did talk a bit, so it was the board's desire to talk about some of the different options. And, as I had indicated in my report that, I was recommending this option, I reached out to, a local company that, has done some live streaming for us in the past during COVID, as well as, does the sound for our graduation, does a variety of things. And, that being a local company owned by a community member, you know, subcontracting out. I mean, the estimate was close to about at least $1,600, to live stream. And that doesn't really count what, you know, are we providing the equipment? Are they providing the equipment? We're providing the equipment. We would have to buy that in addition. If we just recorded our regular meetings, our budget, workshops, I think, you know, we don't necessarily do all of our workshops, but I think budget workshops are of great interest to the community, and or if we have something capital going on, a forum, for example, that roughly conservatively comes to about $19,000 a year. And that is just cost prohibitive in my opinion. That's, half, of what we would pay. Well, it's actually after the aid would be what we pay for a communication specialist, which I'm working very hard on trying to phase back in just a little bit at a time and get back into the budget, hopefully for this year, at least for during budget season, to help us with our newsletters, things like that. It's just, it's a lot of money when sometimes we don't know if we have great, you know, our infrastructure out here, we're in a rural community. Sometimes our internet is not reliable. So, you know, this is my recommendation. We could have someone come out, and do it. That would probably be about, they said $800, but again, it's one single person. What if they're not here? You know, then, you know, if someone else is here, then we can kind of help with that. Mrs. Eastman can then, kind of do her part afterwards. Some people ask, well, could student volunteers do this? Again, some meetings are an hour, some meetings are 3.5 hours. A lot of our students are, unable to commit that time. It's also very important. We have to make sure, you know, people are going to rely on us. If we're saying we're recording them, then we've got to record them. So, there seems to be a great desire when we were unable to record them for 2 meetings. We did hear about that. We hear the community. We want to do what's best. This is the most cost-effective way to do it and to keep it in-house. But there is, you do have to review the video. We've got to, post it to our site on YouTube, do some of those things, but we do review it. We have to make sure, because if the sound isn't good, then it cannot be closed captioned on YouTube. We've got to make sure we're delivering a good product. So, there is setup time, and I know some people say, well, oh, it's just maybe an hour, it's just a few minutes. It takes a bit of time. It's in the evening. It's a time commitment for someone who's been working all day. So, it is adding that to the district clerk stipend. I did share my report with the board. Some of the data that I was able to collect in short term, it's still within the range of what other district clerks are receiving. So adding that together with what the current district clerk stipend is.
We didn't have this issue last year because we had a communications person.
Well, that helped with it, not gonna do the setup, but would do the back end of it afterwards. And, yeah, and there were issues last year because it's a lot of work. It's getting, you know, we've got to get the stuff down. It took us a while to kind of figure out what our process is to get it to work. When we were in the gym, you have to have microphones. So if we're in a bigger area, it's even more work. We have to set up the sound. You have to make sure there's sound. There's microphones. The microphones need to be connected so that everything is working in sync. It seems easy, but if people want to have good quality, it was suggested that we could just audio tape similar to the town. We did look into it. I think in a pinch, if there's something, we have some type of technical difficulty, I think we could do that as a backup. But I don't think long-term that's what the community desires. So that's my recommendation. And certainly if the board
I think
would
if we,
like to have more conversation about it, we could table this,
I
but
think if we look at this realistically, at least we probably spends about 4 hours of her time with this, between setup and the after work. Is that a good estimate?
It depends on
Okay.
the length of.
I mean, I'm asking you 4
Or
hours,
where
obviously
it's
that's going to be
to,
longer.
yeah,
right.
But as an average, I would say
3 to 4.
3 to 4 hours. So if we say 4 hours, that means we're paying her $25 an hour for her work.
Well, if you put it that way, Pete.
I-
It's reasonable, it's fine.
So, yeah, I mean, so we have a motion,
We do have a
right?
motion. Is there any other questions or concerns or discussion points for this?
I just wanted, so we're amending the district clerk responsibilities to include this, so it's an assurance to the community that this going forward is going to be done. I mean, to
It's
the best
going
of our
to be-
ability, obviously
right.
technical stuff. has to
Barring
be-
technical
But,
difficulties. Yep.
but the board
We're
who passed
committing
this is
to
saying, we're
doing
gonna
this.
record these meetings, so.
We're committed to doing that is, again, if there have been some occasions where
Yep.
due to illness or
Mhm.
a technical difficulty, we haven't been able to, but, we do have we have an AI, I have an app now that I use at conferences. Mr. Switzer showed it to me and he uses it for, doing his meeting minutes for his faculty meeting, but, in a pinch, we could use that and it will do a summary and a transcription and a recording, so we could post the recording, the audio recording on in a pinch if we have a technical difficulty, so even that would be better than
And nothing.
having nothing.
Absolutely.
We're trying our best, with limited means. So there's a policy that outlines the district clerk responsibilities, and there is one that says, that the board could assign additional duties. So this action is to assign additional duties. And then it's up to the board, at some point, once we get through our policy, like we have some other policies that are on our list, we probably have 6 or 8 still and some to review, but it is something that we could look at, whether or not you want to put it into revise the formal policy, we could do that. But this board action is
Is putting it into the.
Take a sip.
basically, approving it, and it approves the sum of money to, change the district clerk stipend as well.
Okay.
No? All those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. Motion carried 5-0. Thank you. Moving on to action items. Entertain a motion to approve the building use request from the Salem Booster Club for the high school gym on November 16th from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. to hold a fall festival craft fair.
So moved.
Motion by Peter,
Second.
second by John. All those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. Motion carried 5-0. Entertain a motion to approve the building use request from the Salem PTA to use the cafeteria on October 9th and December 11th at 3:30 to 5:30 p.m. and on November 13th at 5:30 to 7:30 p.m. for their monthly PTA meetings.
So moved.
Motion by Don,
Second.
second by Peter. All those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. Motion carried 5-0. Entertain a motion to accept a donation of $1,500 from the Stewart Shop Corporation for the SWA food camp.
So moved.
Motion by Peter,
Second.
second by John. That's these are very nice donations.
Yeah.
And I will tell you that I think they're renaming it, the Salem Kindness Country.
Did we solicit the donations or is it a standard?
It's something that, so that's part of what, Mrs. Carr's job is, as the student family engagement coordinator, is to, work with different community members and looking for different support. So to, raise money through donations and or grants. But she's really been working through with the food pantry and found that there was a need of collaboration and being able to distribute through the school. So,
So this is hand in hand with the food pantry?
Yes.
yes, they've been working together. So we're kind of an additional site because it is convenient. I think sometimes it's hard for families to be able to get out and pick things up so that we can send things home, with the children helps also. So it's a little bit of an expansion.
My wife is the chairman of the board of directors of the food pantry, and they are very excited about working with the school on it.
She's been doing great work with that and a few other areas. I thought maybe she could attend this month, but she already had another commitment, but I'm hoping to maybe have her quickly come in November and just do a presentation of what's her work so far this fall and the school year and some of the things she's working on, for the school year.
I appreciate it. Yeah, that'd be
Yeah,
appreciated.
just so you can
Yep.
kind of hear it. I think, she's starting to find her way a little bit.
All those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. Motion carried 5-0. And again, another very generous donation. Entertain a motion to accept the donation of $3,000 from the Fort Miller Group Incorporated for the St. SWA food pantry.
So moved.
Motion by Peter, second by Tom. All those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. Motion carried 5-0. Entertain a motion to accept the donation of 150 fire hats from our general insurance carrier, Associates of Glens Falls Insurance. These hats were for our elementary students on Fire Safety Day.
So moved.
Motion by John.
Second. They just touched it.
And we sent them a picture and they were so excited to get the picture of one of the classes wearing them all.
I still have mine.
All those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. Motion carried. It's nice to elicit a good memory, right? Entertain a motion to amend the long-term substitute rate of $220 per day to have more specific terms as follows. The requirement of a long-term substitute teacher is for coverage of 20 consecutive days or more at a rate of $220 per day for certified and $195 per day for the uncertified teacher. These terms will be effective October 17th, 2024.
So moved.
Motion by John,
Second.
second by Peter.
Can we strike the word consecutive from this? We received an email today that made that kind of.
No, because so this is specifically for, and I answered that email. I'm not sure if you had a chance
Yeah,
to
so,
see that.
yeah,
So previously, it was, and if you go back to any of our organizational meetings over the past few years, the days 1 through 25
Right.
for a certified substitute was $110. Days 26 plus, so 26 on is 115. So say, for example, you have a teacher who needs to have a medical leave, maybe surgery or some sort for 6 weeks. That type of substitute for 4 or 6 weeks is a different kind of substitute that might come in for a day or two here and there.
Right.
So if you, and I know some people are educators here, but just a review for everybody, a lot of times, teacher will do sub plans. And, the substitute's not coming in to grade papers, do lesson plans. They may do some lesson delivery. It's not the same type of commitment as when a teacher's out 4 to 6 weeks. You're communicating with parents, you're going to meetings, you're staying, 2:30 to 3:15. There's a much greater commitment. And so we had the need in the spring. We were having a hard time because of the pay. And so this isn't, I know we have some retirees who are filling this job, but it isn't about retirees or not retirees. As a matter of fact, we did not elicit the survey, but Karen was just, the business officials just sent out a survey, just, how much do you pay your retirees different rates? And not everybody did do that, and some were only $5 more.
That mine was the most, some was
Yeah.
$3 more.
Right, and so this is specifically recognizing that a substitute who comes in to fill in for a teacher on a 4-6 week leave, 6-month leave, has a significant greater commitment of
Right.
time.
I understand that.
So it's
But we-
$220.
Right, I understand that, but we've identified it as the difference for a long-term sub as opposed to a Tuesday sub.
Right,
Okay, now, and I, from reading the email chain, I see both sides, but I see there's still I can still see where there might be some confusion thrown in there.
no, there's not, this is, so the confusion is because when we replaced it on the organizational meeting, we did not specify that what long-term meant.
Okay,
And because actually, we're doing it for 4 weeks, 20 days, that was 26 days, you got a little more money. So now it's from the start, from day one, you're getting $220.
Yeah.
There could be, if 2 people commit to job sharing for 6 weeks, and we had that in that case,
Yeah.
where with the first time we did that, they'll each get the $220 per day. So the key factor is I'm bringing it to the board. This isn't like, hey, I'm just gonna put my absence in the subsystem and then someone's gonna decide they get $220 a day. I bring this to the board. The kind of what starts this is that a teacher says, hey, I'm gonna be on leave. Here's my doctor's note, my FMLA, whatever it is, or they need a leave of absence, whatever that may be. And I anticipate it's 4 weeks or more. Then we're going to post that, we're gonna get the person, and the person we appoint for that, or maybe the pair that job shares, is going to get $220 a day.
Right.
So it's very clear. I think, I'm not sure where the confusion came
well, I
because,
think the confusion, I see where the confusion came from. If I did Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and John did Tuesday and Thursday, we never have 20 consecutive days.
Does 20 consecutive days or.
That's where the
And I
confusion.
think that's, but the absence is still, and that's the key thing is realize it's.
The cover
it's
and
teacher
absence.
Missing 20 days. It's not
The difference, believe me, I-
filling all
I-
20.
but this is, but we're the ones who are implementing it. It's just so that the board is approving the different rate.
Right,
So do you see an issue with the auditors with that language?
No,
Right, so
especially because you're appointing them. That's
Right.
that's the key point
we're
here.
appointing them.
You
So
will
this
have
is the
to-
I get
criteria.
it, I get it,
for
I get it. I think, I don't know that we're talking about the same.
If you strike consecutive days, someone's gonna expect it for a day
Once
here, a
they've
day
got 20
there.
days during the year.
That's
they
right.
say, I'm
But-
qualified.
Not what this is for.
Okay, that's
I
fine.
think that's, we gotta be careful on that end too.
Yeah.
I understand, but I think if we define what a long-term sub is, if we make that clear, then that problem goes away. But if we have 2 people who are job sharing one particular job, the consecutive day issue never goes away.
Right,
So it's by appointment, right?
the coverage of, we can put coverage of an absence of 20 consecutive days or more.
That's fine, as long as we clarify.
But again, the issue is, I guess I'm not, we've already established our practice, and our
Yeah,
practice is to allow job sharing.
Right,
And so I don't think that was the intent. I think there was some intent that some people wanted it for any time to come in
Sure.
also.
yeah, I know, I get that, but I think, again, I may be splitting hairs here, and that.
But because I want to be careful, because here's the thing is, again, if Jen is the teacher and she's out, and John and Karen come to me and say, we want a job share, I'll do 3 days, Karen's gonna do 3 days, John's gonna do 2 days, and you say, well, once in a while, I want to come in and get in on that, a day here or there. You're not doing the planning, you're
No,
not,
no.
but if we put it this way to cover an absence, the person who comes in a day here or a day there is going to want the $220 a day. That's the point of us making that determination and appointing that, so consistent in here. So I just want to be careful, because if someone says, well, you could come in and say, well, I'm covering an absence of of someone who was only 20 days, and I was in here one day, I was in here 3 days out of that 6 weeks, I should get 220. They're not doing the same work as Karen and John.
I understand.
Do Karen and John
that's
get
why the
$220 a day?
Yes.
That's,
Yes.
I
Wait,
think
we've
that's,
already
that's
established
that's
that
the
from
question.
three separate
right, that's the question that I have.
Right.
It's not.
As long as, even though they're sharing 2 days on, 3
Yes,
days
we
off,
already
they're
did that
still
in
getting
the
it.
spring. We already have an arrangement now when Aaron Natal comes back, that 2 people are
I
job
think, is
sharing
that what you were
that.
asking? Right,
We've
like,
already
the heart of it is that
Right,
even
yeah.
if they're sharing it, they're still getting that long-term
I'll,
sub
I'll,
pay.
I'll withdraw my consent.
Well, no,
I
no,
just-
I understand. I just want to be
As
careful.
long,
because-
as long as we make it very clear to those that are coming in to take these long-term jobs, that if, you know, if the jobs, as long as they're clear, as long as it is clear that we mean if the 2 of you come in for 20 consecutive days,
No,
that's what it is. That's what we're saying.
If you're job sharing and the 2 of you.
If they're
come in
job
and
sharing,
Cover that
then-
job for 20 days, then,
Totally.
then you're covering that job.
But
for
your
20 days.
statement was appropriate in saying, to cover a 20.
covering an absence.
Absence.
Yeah, if Karen and John are job sharing this position and they do it for 20 days,
Or
then yes,
more.
they
Yeah.
should get that money. If I come in for 1 day in the middle, no, I don't get it. I get
Nor
that.
would you be appointed.
Right.
Keeping.
That's,
keeping
Right.
this.
that's out of the discussion. I don't expect to be appointed. I'm not asking to be, I'm coming in to sub for 1 day because you can't come in that day. No, I know I don't get, I get the regular sub pay
But
for
not
that.
everybody knows that. That's why we're trying to clarify that.
Okay, all right.
Might have to be clarified further. Given the,
Well, what happens when we have an absence, so we have 2 or 3 right now, and we have
Mhm.
already, we've posted them internally, when we posted them on OLAS. And so some of our teachers have contacts and are gonna say, hey, Susie, I'd love for you to cover my
right,
absence. And so then that person meets with the principal talks to them about what they're going to expect. And kind of if there's 2 or 3 people interested, picks their person, they're gonna come here and they're gonna get appointed.
Mhm.
It's just to also tell you that we are paying this person more and we're having them appointed for the anticipated period for a specific function.
Right.
So if that person comes back at 5 weeks and that, then, you know, John goes and subs for someone else the day after that teacher comes back, he's back to getting his 150 or what.
Right, the
whatever
regular,
that is.
regular salary, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the point of it.
Okay.
So I think we're just gonna leave it. I mean, really, this language is so that when we get audited, it's authorizing the higher pay.
Okay,
So it's really the board action is authorizing higher pay.
That's exactly what it's.
I actually got a suggestion for changing language a little. So the requirement of a long-term substitute teacher is for coverage, strike is for coverage. The requirement of a long-term teacher appointed to cover an absence of 20 consecutive days. That puts appointed in there, so it's clear that it's talking about it goes through a board
Yeah.
And
appointment. And it
appointed
makes it clear that it's
Okay.
an absence of 20 days, that the
Appointed
teacher has to work
Yeah.
20
to
consecutive days.
cover,
yeah,
So I'm gonna move that we make that
okay,
amendment to the motion.
yeah, I'll second that motion.
okay.
So they got the words.
Would you please?
Appointed.
repeat
So striking is for coverage in that sentence at the bottom, and replacing with appointed to cover an absence. And then read it a couple times to make sure it says what I think it says, but
that? So Karen, does that cover us as far as what the auditors would be
Okay.
looking for?
Perfect. Good.
And so we do have an amended motion on the board with the change in the language, changing is for coverage of to appointed to cover an absent of.
It clarifies
I
it,
agree.
I think, yeah.
So,
Yeah.
do you need a new motion or?
We are done,
No,
we had
Okay.
seconded, we have that much motion on the table. I just want, additional comments about.
Who thought this would be the most complex thing
Yeah.
for example?
Actually, I do have a
I could
question.
see it.
I just want to be clear, because it says we're replacing the rate of $220 per day with
Job
more specific
share.
terms. And so.
Yeah.
That was the original
Right,
language.
But,
We're replacing that language.
so
before.
the 195 for an uncertified teacher, is that a new rate or was that in there before?
No, but we're replacing it with that whole new thing. So we're replacing
Okay.
We're
then I have
replacing
questions.
that language, long-term substitute.
I have
That's the
I have
difference
questions
from
about why we have that difference.
because there are times where you're not going to get a certified teacher, but they're still doing lesson plans.
I understand. There may be times where you actually have a retired teacher who has let their certification lapse, who may be the best qualified candidate to do the job too.
Right, but New York State has certification,
I'm certified until the day I die.
right?
Okay.
So, and here's the deal, right? And not too many have what, if you're retired, you probably didn't let it lapse. Like it's, if you're retired, we don't go back and say, is your retirement still good? It's
Okay.
usually the teachers that worked here
Okay.
is, yeah, so I wouldn't, that's not
Okay.
an issue, but there is sometimes an issue. And we're not, and so this is even, sometimes you might get someone certified in a different subject, substituting, we're not even, it's
And
not,
you
you
know
don't have
about
to be.
subjects.
No.
You're just
No,
looking
no,
for
no.
certified teacher.
But there are cases where sometimes you're getting someone who's not certified yet or doesn't have a certification. And that is the same
So,
difference in our certified and non-certified for our daily rate. So just recognizing, you know,
Okay.
that we want our certified teachers to have more.
Understand where it comes from. Okay.
Any additional questions?
I think we can finally vote.
No, that's good questions. I want you to understand.
All those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. Carried, 5-0.
We got that.
Okay, awesome. Thank you.
We are moving into the policy, and I understand you had an opportunity in last meeting to talk about the, AI policy. Is there any, questions or concerns, or if no objection, we could waive the second reading and go to adopting?
I like it because it doesn't tell teachers what they have to use. It empowers teachers to learn how to use it in a professional way.
Yeah.
And I like that. And so I want to challenge teachers to use it in a professional way.
So we should have a motion
Before we discuss it. So, but we could have a motion to do a second read, or we could waive that and move to, that's where I was wondering where people's comfort level was on this one.
I'm good with it.
I move we go ahead to adopt.
Entertain a motion to waive the second reading and to adopt policy number 5840, artificial intelligence.
So moved.
Motion by John,
Second.
second by Peter. Now, if there's any conversation, if you have any questions, we have Tom's,
My wife wrote a wonderful paper that was shared globally on AI, and I've talked to my sister, and yeah, we like the policy that we're not telling people what to use. We're empowering people to use it in a professional way so that they can develop their professional skill when using artificial intelligence. So I think that's good.
Yeah, I mean, so I think there were, as in with anything, right, there's pros and cons, and so there are great, opportunities for our teachers, our faculty, and our staff to, Bill Daggett, well, if you ever hear Bill Daggett speak, who is very renowned in the education world, he would say it allows teachers to get their lives back. It can be very exciting if, to help with lesson planning, all kinds of things. And the key is knowing what kind of prompt that you should write to get reliable information. And then you also need to vet that, right? You still have to read it, you still have to edit it, you still have to vet that. And so it's similar to even still today, right? Social media, we have the internet, and just because it's on the internet doesn't mean that it's true. If it's good, you know, we have to teach everyone how to learn what's good information, what may not be so good information, because we don't want people staking their reputations also on something that they just got off AI or the internet. So there is a learning curve, and it is something that we'll work with our teachers. But we also need to teach this to our students. I mean, AI is the future. It's crazy how fast AI has morphed and taken over when you Google. But again, you have to really vet that and read through that, and where did this information come from? And so, but we really need to think about how do we as teachers, this is really gonna change everything in the classroom. And it's not about anymore about, what year did World War II start? You don't need to memorize those things. You don't need to know how to synthesize, apply, and really, be able to utilize the information that you're getting. And, that's why you see a lot of like the Blue Ribbon Commission, you're gonna see a lot of the, changes in the graduation, kind of requirements. You're gonna see more project-based learning, more different opportunities and options for, kids in terms of where they wanna go and how they wanna prove their knowledge and their skills. So it's very exciting, but can cause trouble.
When we discussed this in the
And
committee,
so,
we had the same feeling that we're not directing teachers to use this. We're simply giving them guidance in what is acceptable use and what need to be careful for. I had a discussion with a colleague about artificial intelligence and use of it. And this analogy came up. If you were to sit down and type in a prompt to ask artificial intelligence to seat at a dinner table the most famous graduates from the University of Alabama, the most prominent person in that picture would be Forrest Gump. So you need to be able to look at that and say non-fictional and know you have to say that. So that's what really, I think our teachers are smart enough to know that they need to do that, or they need to look at that picture and say, wait a minute. Okay, so that's basically correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that we felt it was an excellent tool for our teachers to use,
Well, yeah, and
but it's one that we've got to be careful in how we employ, that's all.
yeah, there has to be guidelines
Yeah.
that,
And we'll be,
have been
yeah,
set
we'll be
through
doing
the policy.
we'll be doing some work on that.
Very good.
All right. Mr. Moore, great topic for maybe one of your half days.
Thank you. He says with a smile. So all those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. Motion carried 5-0. Moving on to some first reads of policies. Entertain a motion to accept the first read of policy 7313, medication and personal care items.
So move.
Motion by
Peter, sure.
Peter, second by.
Sure.
I don't know if you want to give us a little synopsis from the policy committee about this, or?
Yep. Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, so it's talking about, students, being able to use or carry, either personal care items or prescription drugs if they need them, like inhalers and things like that. And it offers, guidelines as to how that's, carried out with, action plans and, plans through the nurse's office and, things like that.
Is this in
Yeah.
line with current nurse practices?
Yes.
Yeah, it's a revision of the policy. It's really just cleaning it up. And so recommendations from the policy service, just a few slight changes. So for example, we just had to put down some, schools and nurses' office, carry, nebulizers, and a related medication. So we don't carry that, so we struck that out of the policy. So just adding some possibilities in there that may, occur in a school, but we do keep, so it's also about personal, so if a student, is given permission by a doctor to self-carry an EpiPen. But we're also have, a certain number, allows us to keep EpiPens on file, in stock, on hand, in case, someone forgets it. So, this is just guidance for that.
And one thing I noticed when I read through it over the weekend, it starts off with sort of gender neutral language as the student, but then towards the end, there's more his and her. And I don't know if we were moving towards replacing that with they or the student.
This is from the policy service, so I think that we can.
I didn't know, I know
Whatever.
at one point we were changing some of the language to follow that, but
Um,
I just noticed it sort of changed a little bit throughout. I don't know if that's actually
We could look at it for the second reading.
for the second reading. I
You know,
was just
maybe
thinking,
make it consistent.
Yeah.
Throughout, whichever one we choose. I think there's really no direction on that legally, so I think it's just maybe making
Make
sure
sure
it's
it all matches up.
consistent use one way or another. So we can clean that up for next time.
I'm gonna bring a completely different question that isn't related to the changes that are made, 'cause it's in the current policy too. But we specifically mention, I think it's respiratory, allergy, and diabetes. It's kind of exceptions that students may have medication for. And I wonder why we specifically mention those instead of having a more general terminology. Someone could have an eczema problem that the doctor's given them a cream for, like, are we really trying to stop a student who's capable of applying that on their own, making them go to the nurse's office to get it applied?
I don't,
Is that really any different than an inhaler? Like,
I don't think it's necessarily stopping them. I can, talk to the attorney about that. These are the things that, are most asked for by physicians and or students. This is also to really outline that we don't want students, carrying, so this is to prevent someone from having 4 bottles of NyQuil in their locker,
right,
carrying, these are all things that
I
I've
understand.
seen, not necessarily here, but over my years, bags of Advil or different types of, medications and or pills that could be prescribed to them and they sell them, Adderall, those types of things. So we do try to be specific. And the thing is, if a doctor brings a note, that sends a note and says, I want Jen to self-carry her eczema cream, we're going to allow it if she's of age to do that. So typically it's the secondary students, usually the younger ones, we would keep it on file. We're not going to prevent that. These are just the cases of, for some reason legally, it seems to necessitate this policy. So it doesn't say necessarily that if a doctor says Jen can carry, she's in 10th grade and she can carry her eczema cream.
I
We
think
would
it actually
implement that.
says that no medication except, but students can't carry, so. That was my reading of it.
I think
Looking at it
this
right now.
without a script.
Without a prescription or
And a written
written
consent.
consent from the
Yeah.
doctor or doctors. No,
And a
but we
written
can-
consent,
or-
so.
I don't know, I'm not,
So the parent
semantics,
usually
I'm not sure
will,
exactly
will
how,
bring in the note and
Why
give
don't we-
consent.
right,
Why
we can
don't-
look at it again.
I don't think it necessarily has to
So
go.
these are,
with the
so
change.
these are,
Anyway, but-
Well, I think this is the first reading. Why don't we
yeah,
take?
so I'll check
why
with
don't
the
we take
attorney.
note And then
Yeah.
go back at our next.
I'll check
Yeah,
with
because
our.
we'll meet again towards the
Yeah.
end of the month. I forget the
Well,
date.
I think I'll just check with our school attorney and
That's fine,
and
yeah.
ask him
You
that
can
question.
turn to,
Yeah.
appreciate it.
How's that sound?
Yeah, absolutely.
So we do, we have a motion on the table to accept the first read of the policy. All those in favor,
Yeah.
please signify by raising your hand. Motion carried 5-0. Entertain a motion to accept the first reading of policy 7521, students with life-threatening health conditions.
So moved.
Motion by John,
Second.
Peter. Discussion?
A lot of the changes here was, and this came again from the policy here, was changing, medical to health, the word medical to health, the word children to the word students. The one place where we did, find that we needed to make an addition was when it came to, in an effort to prevent, on page 4 or 5. Effort is fulfilled in an effort to prevent exposure to allergens, citizens will monitor the following high-risk areas and activities after cafeteria added in their classroom snacks and meals, which was not in the original document sent to us. And how many times have, okay, everybody take out your cheese and peanut butter crackers here? No. So we felt it was important to add that in there. But other than that, it was really a lot of terminology change.
And I would say our teachers are great with
Yeah.
that. So at the
Yeah.
beginning of the year, Mrs. Bramer, our school nurse, works with, classroom teachers of any, allergies. So every teacher is aware of any critical, need to know information about, especially food allergies, food stings, those types of things, so that, to my knowledge, our teachers have been very good about, putting limitations on snacks, classroom snacks, those types of things. If there's an allergen in the classroom. This is just cleaning up the language as well.
Any other questions or concerns about that policy? Motion on the table to accept the first read. All those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. Motion carried 5-0. Entertain a motion to accept the first reading of policy 7331. I know. Motion by John,
Second,
second by Peter. And discussion.
language.
So two things, actually.
Yeah.
So the 7:10 and 7:11, so first reading timeout and limited authorized use of physical restraint.
Right.
Those used to be part of one policy. And, as part of the revision process, our school attorney, recommends two separate policies. And this is our school, these are from our school attorney. So they're, really updated with a lot of the key information
And
that we would need.
they're very attuned to school law.
Yeah, this is all reflecting the changes in law that have occurred in the past year.
Our numbers got transposed. It is actually, policy number 7351. It's a new policy. Yes. So,
And then, yeah, the other one,
it's gonna be.
73.
7352. Yeah. Which is right.
No, that's correct. So any further discussion about the policy? All those in favor of accepting the first read, please signify by raising your hand. Motion carried 5-0. And, first read of our last policy, entertain a motion to accept the first reading of policy 7352, limited authorized use of physical restraint.
So moved.
By John,
Second.
second by Peter. Discussion.
Just don't like the title. I'm trying to get over it.
What time? That is the title that is used in the timeout.
That timeout and limited use of physical restraint.
Those are the references in the special education world, and
Yeah.
it would not change those.
And again, there's.
They used to, like, so, we don't have any here, but there are schools over the years that had timeout rooms. That was a room that just was very minimally furnished with a lot of soft things and had.
Yeah, there's a history to the word,
Yes,
and
and it's taking it away, but the fact of the matter is that's still, so we use it differently now, but those are, and restraint is restraint, and there are times when restraints are necessary, but these are, in that next policy would be strictly prohibited.
they're currently not.
Well, we should do timeout first, or we're done.
We did timeout. We're on it.
I didn't switch my thing. I didn't switch it. Sorry. Slow loading. So yeah, so for the restraint, there was, they've become stricter on it. And in the past, one of the key was that restraint was permitted, for possible damage of school property or other people's, but really school property, if somebody was trashing a classroom, and that's no longer permitted.
It seems really difficult to enforce them. Because it says you're authorized when there's a risk of physical injury, but then it's only allowed for people who have been properly trained in appropriate
That's
application.
correct.
Yeah.
So,
So we have
so
people.
are you trained? I don't know.
No,
We
but in
know-
a school setting, there are people that are trained. There have to
So
be.
if I see Peter is maybe showing signs of maybe some aggression, there are people who are
Oh, why
trained,
me?
we have plans. And, somebody who's nearby might know that, Jen is trained and.
That somebody's getting the book.
And that Jen is 2 doors down, hey, John, can you just go and grab Jen? And then Jen would kind of be observed and nearby in case we needed it, but like here, we're very fortunate. We have great de-escalation. We do training in de-escalation. Actually, it's required now that everyone in the district is trained in de-escalation. So, you know, I believe, our staff does a great job with that. But this is also, you know, like if there's a fight, if I pull you apart, that's restraint, but that's physical injury. So, you know, we have quite a few people trained, so.
But
we're
it also
ready for this.
outlines the protocol of what's supposed to happen,
Documentation.
the documentation and all of that.
Yes, yes, reporting to the parents, all of those types of things, checking for injuries, all of those types of things, very specific.
No, prescribed law.
This is very little of this is really subject to change. There's really not much of this at all that we could change much,
Yeah.
except for maybe the order in which it's presented.
Here's a weird question, it's kind of a sidebar. Say I'm living in New York City and I see an altercation. If I call the police, I'm gonna be stuck there for hours. I'm gonna have to file paperwork, I'm gonna have to see a lot of questions. I might just ignore it, walk by it. Do you think that kind of mentality ever develops in a school district where there's a
No.
genuine fear?
No, because there's liability
Yeah.
for we all.
There's no liability for a community member, but here in the school, everyone is overseen and everyone has a professional obligation to perform.
Well, yeah, plus these
Everyone
are our children. We
has
don't want
committed
anyone
to
get
work with
hurt.
children, and
Yeah.
that's what you.
Yeah, yeah.
You're more asking the question, if you're a cop in New York
Yeah.
City and you witness something, right? I mean, you've already said, this is the job I wanna have, right? I wanna be responsible for kids if you're in school, that I wanna be responsible for keeping the kids in peace if you're a cop in New York City.
You've committed
Now
to
you
that.
witness an altercation, now you're definitely gonna respond, because it's who you are, it's what you wanna be.
Yeah.
So it's.
Yeah, like you know, this, some of that's what you signed up for. Sometimes, but again, you know, we focus on positive climate and culture, compassion, understanding, connections, you know, de-escalation. It's very rare here that we have concerns about this, but it's still something that we train for and plan for.
Any additional comments or? All those in favor of accepting the first read, please signify by raising your hand. Motion carried 5-0. Thank you to the policy committee. for-
Yeah. We were busy.
We got a system though, we
Pretty
got a
efficient.
system.
Moving on to other business, opportunities for the board to be heard.
If you have not had the chance, right outside of Jacko's is the newspaper box for the Salem Press. I grabbed it and looked at it and we got a lot of coverage from the last meeting, of course, and I think it was wonderful to see that it was a balanced coverage. And the other coverage for the school, the athletics and all the other things going on here was nothing but positive. It is a real pleasure to see. We're not gonna be perfect. We're gonna get things wrong, and that's gonna happen. And we need to be held to task on that, but we need to be held to task in a civil way. And I think the Salem Press has done that. So if you have a chance, it's right outside Jacko's. They got the box there. It's free. And I,
I was looking for it, I didn't realize it was there. Thank you for.
Yeah.
for
So-
sharing that.
I want to thank Wendy Carey, she's still here, for making my life easier. My child wants to eat your food every single day. She loves to have lunch here, and you do such a wonderful job, and I just want to say thank you to you and your staff as well.
Thank you.
Very good.
I know-
Julie, sorry.
I know, I just wanted to remind people that the Adirondack Small Schools Board Association does have a November 21st meeting. It's at 5:30. Mark Snyder, the gentleman who did our workshop over the summer, is the speaker, and the topic is best practices.
Can you say the date again?
November 21st.
it's the
Right, I know, I
it's the
saw
last
it in
date
an
item
email,
on the
but,
list.
So I
Okay.
just wanted to remind.
oh,
people.
right. I didn't turn the.
Yeah, it's great. They do a really nice job, and, so if you wanna go, Gina can either sign you up or we can send you the link. And so Jen, if you did wanna go,
Yeah.
sometimes they ask you about food and they don't, but we can email.
Okay.
Dr. Trina Parker from BOCES. they coordinate that. Her secretary does the reservations, and I have a special food request, and
Oh,
we
okay. That
can
would
certainly
be great, yeah.
accommodate you.
Okay.
If you do wanna go, just make sure you let them know.
Okay.
Let Gina know.
Or
it
you
would-
can
yeah.
let me know.
Let
Yeah,
Gina
yeah,
know.
no, I will, yeah.
That's what I meant.
Those are always worth going to. They're
Yeah,
always great.
no,
Yeah, they
I
do a nice job.
wanted to.
Good networking, good
And it's,
information.
where there's time to network,
Yeah.
you sit at a table sometimes with other, superintendents and board members from other districts, and it's a nice time for sharing, so it's pretty nice. Good experience.
I try not to miss something.
Some different topics throughout the year.
Yeah,
And just to segue from that, because it was best practices and it does go back to our workshop, and some of the discussions that we had. I did want to ask if there was somebody who was interested in working with me to come up with some written, board norms, practices, procedures, orientation, onboarding. We seem to have an oral history and we don't actually put it down in writing. And I think maybe it will help as we transition different seats. You take a look at the board, it changes over quite quickly. So some of that, again, we were talking about institutional knowledge that sometimes gets lost if we don't write it down.
Yep.
But if there's somebody who would be interested, then maybe either come back to work as a board ourselves, or we could, Mark did offer to come back, and maybe that was something that we could solidify and talk about, how we wanted to move forward with that. Is there
would
anybody?
he do it in like a workshop
We could do it in a workshop.
way, like if
Yeah.
everybody
together,
wanted to be a part of that, yeah.
Yeah, but I think if we have something to start with.
I think
Right,
that's-
then he can guide us through it.
Starting with the generation thereof, that takes a lot of time and energy, just a lot of
And then
time.
go to a
And then
workshop.
go through the workshop format.
To wrap that out, yeah.
I don't mind doing
You mind working with me on that?
Yeah, it's okay.
So we can do that and we can move forward.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you for that.
Okay.
Is there anybody else who has anything to?
Yeah, I was gonna, Julie already mentioned pep rally and Spirit Week, but I want to thank Mr. Morris. Pep rally was awesome. My kids loved it. My kids in high school, so I'm biased toward the high school end of things. But I want to thank the teachers and staff too that week. I know, I saw a little quick video of soccer mom and barbecue dad.
Oh,
day.
that's the
Yeah.
fun. It's so
Yeah,
fun.
And just knowing that a whole bunch of staff members took time out of their day to sit out in the hall and cheer for our kids walking down the hall, which is not their jobs, but thank you, because it means a lot to our kids. So I just want to thank all the staff who did that, and the ones who didn't too, but especially the ones who did that. Thank you.
And they really nail it too, the whole soccer mom and the barbecue moms and dads, and it's fun. It is, it's like Saturday Night Live, only the rated G version. It's awesome. It's fun, it really is. It makes us laugh. It's like the best week. It's so much fun. It's a great time. It's great.
I'm really excited to hear that, the morale's good in the high school. Will's doing a good job. I hear great things about Damien. It just feels good that decisions were made and people were put in place, and people are feeling good about that. So it's nice to hear.
We're working on it.
Sorry to lose Darlene.
I'll be hanging around. Just live down the street. And moving on to some of these other things, we have a lot of dates to remember, speaking of activities in the school. There are a lot of things upcoming. The Veterans Day, that's a revival of the. Yeah,
Yes.
so that's nice to see that back on the list. We do have our meetings listed for that, so lots of things going. Oh, there it is, the ASBA dinner, thank you.
And also, this weekend, we have, our, New York State School Boards Association,
Oh, that's right.
conference, Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday. So Sunday for the officers, but then, Sunday evening, so it's late Sunday afternoon is the opening, and Monday and Tuesday. I don't know where I'm getting Saturday from. But yeah, it's a really great conference, so I'm excited that we have 3 board members going, and, looking forward to bringing
And my children,
back.
children will be there too.
Any other dates? No? All right, at this time, I would like to open up the meeting again for, public comment. People just remember, the parameters that we laid out at the beginning. I'd like to open up the podium if anybody has a comment or concern or question. All right, then we will close that, and, I think we do have a need for an executive session.
So we do, there is some action, and I don't know, we have two different options. We could go into executive for the part that will require action after, and then quickly go back in again after with no action, so the public doesn't have to wait as long, or is that up to you?
So
That-
you're suggesting,
Go for the personnel, it's for the, so if we first go to matters leading to the appointment and employment of a particular person, go into that now. Then come back and do our action items, and then just go back in for, we have just some collective bargaining to discuss, but that way we don't have to hold up everybody who might want to be here for the action items.
oh, I think you're saying.
So then we would just go into a second executive session, just out of courtesy to our crowd here.
Entertain a motion to enter executive session for the purpose of discussion of the employment history of a particular person and matters leading to the employment of a particular person.
So moved.
Motion by John.
Second.
Second by Peter. All those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. Motion carried. We do anticipate some action afterwards, and then,
So Mr. Ward, can we use your office? Is it presentable?
we are recording again. We are back in regular session. And we do have the, action items on the second agenda. Entertain a motion that to accept the following resolution, be it resolved that the Board of Education of the Salem Central School District hereby authorizes the superintendent of schools to enter into an agreement with R.G. Timms Incorporated for consultant services not to exceed $8,000 in the area of financial analysis and long-range planning for the remainder of the 24-25 school year. Motion by Don,
Second.
Peter.
So outcomes will be managed by you and
Yeah, so what'll happen is, it will, once we sign the contract, we'll put together a timeline, roughly the timeline. So Karen and I met with him 2 weeks ago. I apologize, we don't have the contract, but his secretary apparently is on a 2-week, sabbatical of some sort, vacation, hopefully somewhere great. And so we didn't have it. Actually, the price should be somewhat under that, but I just wanted to just have a little built in there because I didn't have it. But what will happen is now that our external audit is complete and then the related financial information is called a ST3. It's a report that needs to get sent to New York State. So once all of that is now complete and officially verified by the auditors, we will get him that information. He works with us and he will, he has a timeline and a process where we start exchanging data, and he and his team are building kind of the model of kind of looking at our history. And then we'll start talking about different parameters in terms of, you know, projections and planning for the future in terms of, do we anticipate staffing to stay the same? Different needs, capital projects, looking at our debt falling off. Are we adding in any new projects? Those types of things.
is it possible for the finance committee to observe the process?
So you'll get updates as part of the process. Yes, yeah, that's one of the parts of the process will be that you will be up to date in terms of what we're working on. And then what will happen is, so it's designed, so he's a former school business official and superintendent. And so he's designs the process to be somewhat parallel to the start and some of the building of the budget. So then we have good numbers as kind of like our year one for next year is kind of built into the model appropriately. And then he can also kind of look at some of our situation about tax levy and kind of where we've been. He also, just recently did a talk at that ASBA, dinner meeting that we had, in September and talked a lot about the foundation aid, where foundation aid's going, projections for that. He is one of the authorities in the state, in working and understanding that. So I think it'll be beneficial as he's working and looking at our model, where, to help us with those projections based on our enrollment, our tax base, all of those. And then probably February, March, it'll be wrapped up. He will present to the board in public session. He would do it virtually, so we'll just have to have a setup for that. But he would present to the board so he calls it an analysis, and then we can use the analysis then to be making decisions, which will be where the finance committee will come in a little bit, in terms of recommendations after the presentation. So definitely the finance committee will be definitely in the loop of the process.
I think we'll find and as Julie said, I had the opportunity to hear her speak. And I think what we'll find with him and what the community will find with him is that it may not happen this year, but in the not too distant future, it's going to make our whole budgeting process a whole lot easier, a whole lot more. It's going to make a whole lot more sense to us as we go through the budgeting process. The guy was able to explain how the tax cap is established to me, and and what foundation formula is. And I thought I would never get that. But I think it's going to be very beneficial to us. As I said, it may not happen this budget cycle, but in the very near future, it's going to be a huge benefit.
Well, it's also going to help us understand, right, if we kind of do the projections and you're
Right.
looking at CPI and inflation, in layman's term, and how that affects our purchasing. We're gonna, I think in the hopefully next month or so, we're gonna have our contracts. We're gonna know we're negotiating with Lucia this year. We're gonna know where we're at for salary. So it's
Yeah.
really gonna give us a good idea of where we are. I think obviously, I think I could speak for everyone and so many community members, faculty, staff, everybody that was involved. It's been a rough 2 years because we didn't have long-range plan, right? Historically, coming in, a long-range plan has not been done for, I don't know, Karen couldn't remember. And, really, it's not Karen's fault. Karen works for a superintendent and superintendent works for a board. It just was not, it was not something that people thought should be done. I feel very strongly about it. I think we cannot plan for the future. We cannot appropriately support our strategic plan, our blueprint for excellence, and be able to fund that properly and to even establish our priorities without knowing what our financial range plan is. And so, but he calls it an analysis. He's not, we're not making the plan until we do the analysis. And then we can make some decisions. Hopefully I think we've leaned out. I think we're in a good place.
My fear with that statement is that it can't be used next year and the year after, right? When you pay somebody.
What do you mean it can't be used? It will be, it's a 5-year
projection, but is it a rolling 5-year projection that can be updated?
Yes, every year we should be updating it in real time.
So
Yes.
he's gonna provide us with the ability to perform long-term planning
Yes.
year after year
Yeah.
after year.
That's the whole
Yeah.
purpose.
Yeah.
That's the whole purpose.
Without a reoccurring $8,000 expense.
Yes. Now, here's the thing is he provides the same service that we pay fiscal advisors for. But fiscal advisors they don't
The
do
bonds.
this piece.
Yeah.
So, this is kind of also like an on-the-job interview for him over the next 6 months or so. And Karen was already like, hey, let's see how this, how this goes. We may want to switch our service over to his firm because then you have his natural, so we can belong to kind of his, kind of the consortium and the group for information purposes and access to him for, I think, $750 a year in the future if we wanted to. But the bottom line is he is a former superintendent, business official. He understands schools, operations, serving our students, giving them what they need in a way that fiscal advisors is unable
Yeah.
to provide. Now, fiscal advisors has done a good job for us. I'm not disparaging them, but it is an option that we may want to consider, in the process. So again, that will be something that the finance committee, as we're interacting with him, will consider along the way.
Let's try them out.
That's exciting. It comes well recommended. The superintendent of Hudson Falls worked with him when he was a superintendent in Fort Edward. And they're aware of a few other.
That's a challenging town.
Yeah,
Well,
but they're back on track.
We sat with the super.
They're back on track and he highly recommends them.
He raved about them, so.
Yeah,
Yeah, they have property tax issues.
they're back on track. So yeah, they've done a lot of work.
Any additional questions, concerns? We have a motion on the table to approve the resolution. All those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. Motion carried 5-0. Moving on, entertain a motion to accept the following resolution. Be it resolved that the Board of Education of the Salem Central School District, upon the recommendation of the Superintendent of Schools, hereby appoints Catherine Jones as Director of Pupil Personnel Services commencing on November 18, 2024, approves the terms and conditions of employment dated October 16, 2024, and approves the payment of money therein. Mrs. Jones will be paid a salary of $125,000 for the 24-25 school year, prorated according to her start date. Mrs. Jones is hereby appointed for a probationary period commencing on November 18, 2024, and anticipated to end on November 17, 2027. Mrs. Jones holds a professional certification in school district leader area.
So moved.
Motion by Peter,
Second.
second by Tom. All those in favor, please signify by raising.
So this
your
is a 12-month position?
Yes, 12 months.
hand. That was in the Jones one. Yeah. Motion carried 5-0. Welcome to Salem. We are so excited. to have you. Entertain a motion to accept the following resolution. Be it resolved that the Board of Education of the Salem Central School District, upon the recommendation of the Superintendent of Schools, hereby appoints Catherine Jones as CSE and CPSE Chairperson, effective November 18, 2024.
So moved.
Motion by
Second.
John, second by Peter. All those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. Motion carried
We're
5-0.
already loading on you.
Yeah. Don't take long.
I'm sorry, what?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was real.
Entertain a motion to accept the following resolution. Be it resolved that the Board of Education of the Salem Central School District hereby authorizes the Superintendent of Schools to enter into an agreement with Dr. Darlene King for consultant services in the area of special education and pupil personnel services for the remainder of the 24-25 school year. Dr. King shall be paid at a rate of $80 per hour for services rendered on an as-needed basis, and not to exceed $6,000.
So moved.
Motion by Peter,
Second.
second by Jen.
Thank you.
All those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. Motion carried 5-0. Welcome back.
Can't get away from us. Not letting you, I told her I was gonna be hanging on to her leg on the way out the door, so.
That does include our action items for the evening, but we do have to have an additional executive session and entertain a motion to return to executive session for the purposes of discussion of collective negotiations with Washington.
Yeah.
Is there anything else?
And, they ran into the employment of a particular person.
So moved.
Motion by Peter,
Second.
second by Jen.
Excuse me.
All those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. Motion carried 5. No.
No action.
No action is.
If the room clears, I'll probably stay in.